Welcome to Talk Across America. I'm Doug Miles, and we're here in beautiful Sarasota, Florida. Joining us now on our book talk segment, we're going to talk about hopefully making your business work better. A great new book out called Brave New Work. Are you ready to reinvent your organization? We're joined today by Aaron Dignan. He's the founder of The Ready, a great organizational design business that's helped many companies around the country and around the world. He lives out in Colorado. He joined us by telephone today. And Aaron, good to talk with you. How are you?
Likewise, yeah, I'm doing great.
Yeah, good to chat with you. How are things in Colorado? Too snowy or not too bad?
It has been a little snowy, but the sun is coming out.
Oh, good. It's a nice part of the world. I've been through there. I've stayed there once a long time ago in the summer, but it's a nice part of the world you live in. So it's a good.
It really is. Yeah, it's a nice balance.
Well, I had a chance to read through the book a bit. Looking forward to finishing it up. I didn't get a chance to do that yet, but always kind of fascinated with the world of business and all that, and how we can improve on it. And I guess that's kind of the crux of the book. A lot of companies now maybe kind of stuck in old ways of doing things, right?
Yeah, I think there's an enormous amount of frustration with hierarchy and bureaucracy and red tape and things that are, doing more of getting in the way than they are necessarily helping and protecting us. And so there's a desire to access some of these new ways, and luckily there are organizations out at the fringe actually trying and proving that this stuff is possible.
Yeah, when I went to college the first time, I took a lot of business courses, majored in business, and even back then, it wasn't that long ago, but it was in the early 80s, it seemed like a lot of the courses we took then seemed to be going through business structures that, and even at that time, were quite old and antiquated. At least that's what I thought. I guess that, in a sense, still going on in some cases, right? We were kind of organizing businesses the way we did back in the early 1900s.
I begin every speech with a picture of an org chart that I select at random, and I ask people what year it's from, and I get answers ranging from 1800 to yesterday. So we really haven't changed much, and in fact, those ideas that came about in the Industrial Revolution and on factory floors have become incredibly embedded in our thinking, and we really want to treat the organization like a machine. And the fact of the matter is that it's not. It's a living system. It's a set of people with real feelings and desires and judgment, and there's a lot more going on than we think.
I wonder why that is. I mean, other industries, the medical industry, that continues to change, and different, scientific, people in that, it tends to change. But in business, at least the way it's run, people are reluctant. Any reason why that is? I guess maybe they don't just learn the new ways, or what's the reason for that?
I think there's a few reasons. I think the first is that we are so go. We're so kind of in search of the next growth, the next win, the next project, the next meeting, that we don't take the time to reflect. I mean, it's very rare to stop and take an hour and say, hey, what happened? What served us? What didn't? What would we do differently? What have we learned? We just sort of assume that's happening in the background, and we move on to the next. So I think holding the space for change is a big piece of it. Yeah. And then the other part of it is that there is a little bit of a learned helplessness. We've been told no enough by a boss, by a regulator, by an industry, that we start to learn to just kind of keep our heads down and get it done, and we start to play the game that we're dealt rather than the game that we'd like to play. So I think that there's a little bit of a resistance that's needed. We kind of have to wake up and snap out of that a little bit.
Yeah, I guess that traditional hierarchy of, you have a boss, one guy ahead of you, and you just kind of move up the ladder that way. That's the way people were taught. That's the only way to get ahead, or at least, you do what you're told. But that really isn't necessarily the best way to run a lot of businesses, right? I mean, being your own boss sometimes is better within a business, or at least having autonomy, right?
And even if you are the boss, it's actually better to make sure that there's, more autonomy, more judgment, more agency in the system. One of the metaphors I use in the book is the difference between a signal-controlled or a lighted intersection with a red, green, yellow light and a roundabout. Of course, the light tells you what to do. It assumes you can't be trusted. It sort of says, sit here and comply, and I'll tell you when to move. The roundabout says you got to show up with judgment and decide when to go in and when to go out, and we trust you and we trust each other, and so there's a dance happening here. And what's funny is we have 1,000 times more red lights in this country, and yet the one that has higher performance, higher throughput, better safety, cheaper to build and maintain, works better when the power goes out is, you guessed it, the roundabout. And so there's a lot of opportunities at work to say, instead of doing this budget the lighted way, is there a roundabout way? Is there a way built on trust and autonomy and responsibility that might offer us a better path?
Funny you bring that up. I was going to ask you about that because in the book I saw the section on it in the pictures. Sarasota, where I am today, that they've continually built a lot of those in the last few years. There's been some resistance to it, but that seems to be the way they're going. And you're right. You have to think the other person at times when you can go. You don't just look at the red light anymore. So it is a little different way of driving. You're right.
And it is uncomfortable, and I think that's the point, right? It is, working in this new way, achieving our potential, really being great is not always easier. You don't always get to sit there and check your phone and wait for the light to turn green. You're on notice, and you're participating, and you're alive in the system. And I think that is, at first glance, sometimes scary, sometimes hard. But when you meet systems that have been doing that for a while, and you meet communities like that, man, they're doing incredible things. And I think that's what we're capable of.
I know we have limited time today, but maybe just give one, one of the main issues in your research that businesses have to overcome, or the biggest problem you've seen today. What's going on?
I think one of the biggest challenges is just making the time for it, as I mentioned before. And the other big challenge is sort of around ego and identity. I think for a lot of leaders, myself included, when you're into looking at everything and reviewing everything and getting into details and being a bit of a micromanager and ensuring everything's perfect, and somebody says, well, there's a better way, but it involves you stepping back and leaving space, there can be a question of, who am I? Well, am I still important? Am I still relevant? What is my job now, if not to tell everyone what to do? And the answer is, you still have a really important job to make sure that we all know where we're going and to make a safe space for that experimentation and that participation. But it is a different job. It's a little bit more gardener and a little bit less commander. So that change of ego is critical.
Have you found, Aaron, that business schools, universities, maybe even high schools are starting to teach this? I mean, it really has to kind of begin there, too, doesn't it, to get the young people indoctrinated into a better way?
I think it's critical, yeah, and unfortunately I don't think that it has trended yet in a way that I'd like to see. I think we're still in the very early days, but, you live it and then you experience it, and I think we will see more continuing ed and MBA programs and things like that start to wake up to these realities in the years ahead.
Well, I hope so. And again, we invite you, the audience, to get the book. It's got a lot of great information, techniques in it as well. It's called Brave New Work. Are you ready to reinvent your organization? And we've been talking with Aaron Dignan today. Aaron, I know you have a website. Give that out if you would, and people get more information on the book.
Yeah, luckily, Brave New Work can be found at bravenewwork.com. That's where the community and the conversation is happening.
Great. And also the Ready.com, your organization, good website there as well. But Aaron, pleasure talking to you. Hopefully we can do it again. Thanks for being with us.
Likewise. Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining us today on Talk Across America. Please visit our website at dougmilesmedia.com for more great interviews and content. And if you're interested in any of the books we talk about on the program, please click the Amazon link on our website. It helps support the podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again real soon here from beautiful Sarasota, Florida.
I'm Stan Brock. 30 years ago, I formed Remote Area Medical to help people overseas. But then we found generations of families in America isolated by poverty from the health care they need. Together, we can take dental, vision, and medical help to 1 million adults and their kids, right here at home in the United States of America.